welcome everyone. I know that majority of you know about the Courage Chapter because you do come from our community. But for those who were invited by friends, it might be the first time that you're hearing about us. So I think this whole session today is really sharing the fact that the Courage Chapter has just launched our third cohort of the Social Service Returnship Program for professionals who are looking to transition into the social sector. So we're very honored to kickstart our first info session today with some of our esteemed panelists from the social sector. Before we go into the panel session, I wanted to do a very quick sharing about the Courage Chapter. Right, so for those who don't know us very well yet, we are a social enterprise and we help to unlock the experience of senior talents for organizations and the community to gain the wisdom that they need. So what you can see that we have our logo in the middle, right? So we see ourselves as a connector between both worlds, our senior professional pool as well as our organizations. So we aim to really provide a safe and practical space for our professionals to explore your next chapter. Actually, we are sector agnostic, meaning to say that we actually work in various sectors, but for today's purpose is really about the social sector. And while exploring your second chapter, we actually connect you with great opportunities in various sectors as well. And if you see on the right hand side of the screen, right, there are various kinds of we call it modalities of work. Like gone are the days where it's only about traditional employment, like full-time employment. Right now, there's a lot of like short-term projects, fractional projects. Of course, in the social sector, there's even skilled volunteerism, micro jobs, etc. Right, so different types of ways we see of meaningful contribution as well. So how do we see a journey with our senior talent? So there are many photos on the screen. We call this thing the 4C transition model, right? So when our community members join us, we aim to help them to find clarity, right? Because some of them are kind of exploring their next stage. Who are you at your current stage and where would you like to go? So what are some of your new motivations, your transferable skills and your strengths in the areas that you want to go into? After you have that clarity of where you want to go, then how do you get there, right? So then that's actually the capacity building part. For example, in the social service context, is really understanding the sector better. What are the new mindsets and skill sets you gotta learn, expectations, new culture, etc. And how do you communicate your own value in your new sector, right? And then we move on to creation. Right, so I'm a firm believer of creation because I think learning is not enough. Like you gotta kind of like act on it, right? You got kind of create value into the world. So then in this case, we'll be matching some of our professionals with various roles and projects within the social sector. And finally, this whole thing is underpinned by care because we hope that it's a journey and not just like a transaction. We want to continually support you throughout your journey as well. And we hope that today's panel and sharing can help you kickstart your exploration of the social sector. Right. So I think just a quick sharing about the work that we've been doing in the sector for the past 2 years. Right. So our specialty really, right, is to help corporate folks to contextualize their transferable skills into the social sector. So if you would have noticed in the bottom of the slide, right, you notice that we don't have like roles specific to like social work or psychologists, etc. Because these are like professional roles that you requires like the degree or like masters, right? But actually our community is great at program delivery type, right? So if you're a very good at ops person, a good customer service person, program delivery is great for you, right? Engagement and partnerships like fundraising, marketing, corporate functions, HR, finance, compliance, procurement, and digital and innovation. So, digital transformation, creative experience, etc. Yeah, so these are some of our the logos on the slides are some of our existing partners and clients, right? So actually during this journey, right, while we were speaking to various charities, we found out that there was a common thread among them, lah. So actually it's not a bit of roses, right? Sometimes we have a lot of resistance we got a lot of pushback. And then like the reason is because they say that sometimes they have good experience with corporate folks that they hired, but some of them actually don't have that great experiences when they first just kind of get them through the door. Because many of them say that actually corporate people coming from another sector, right, they don't understand the culture, the mindsets are also different. And then when they join, right, if they don't fit in they might actually attrit out the company lah. They will quit after 6 months. So it's actually very heart pain and headache for everyone in this whole process lah. So actually the remedy to that is then we thought, what if we can create a program, right, to help our corporate professionals to understand the sector better first. So we preempt them, we kind of like share with them the expectations and etc. Help them to figure out actually what is their role in the sector and how they can thrive in the sector. And then help them to kind of meet our senior leadership in the social sector to kind of get a synergy fit. And try each other out for a few months before both of you decide on a good fit lah. So then this is what we call the social service returnship program. I will share more details with you later about the details of the program, but for today we are very, very happy to actually invite three wonderful leaders to join us today to share their experience in the social service returnship. Right. So first we have Wendy. She's our wonderful moderator. She's the head of talent and transformation at YWCA and also the founder of Insight Insights. Wendy has a very interesting career. She started as a young professional in social services, then she moved into corporate HR leadership, and then she's also then back in the social sector lah. So many inflection points there. And because Wendy is also the trainer for our social service program, I think we are in very good hands as well. I will leave Wendy to introduce Bernard and as well as Edmund. So I'll now hand the time over to Wendy.
Right. So good morning, everyone. You can all hear me real fine?
All
All
good.
good? Yes. Okay. So like Cunning have introduced, I'm Wendy, and I'm your moderator for today's panel session. With me, I have Bernard. You can search and see where he is and start recognizing that face. And there is also Edmund, and both of them are from the St. Andrews Autism Center, right? We definitely warmly welcome all of you. The title for today's panel is really Turning Success into Significance. Social service, ask them anything. So there are two of them in the room. Okay, and I'm happy to take questions myself as well. And I know all of you have, questions at the back of your mind, be it about skills transfer, culture adaptation, or how do I get, my team members eventually, if I do go into social service, or my boss to fall in love with me, right? And like me as a senior talent from the corporate world. Okay, so with that, I don't think I'm going to do justice if I try to talk to you about the amazing life history and journeys of these two gentlemen. So I'll hand over to both Bernard and Edmund. You decide who wants to take it first. Give us a brief self intro and your journeys specifically with the Courage chapter and each other going forward.
Okay, Eamon, you want to go first?
Bernard, you're the boss, you go first.
Okay, you must
Okay,
set
now
an
you know the
example.
relationship, huh, guys?
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Bernard. I lead about 400 colleagues in St. Andrews Autism Center. St. Andrews Autism Center is a charity, or what we term as a social service agency, that works to bring meaning and dignity to the lives of persons with autism. We're not the largest, we are not the smallest, we are probably a medium-sized sort of a charity. First got to know Courage chapter, trying to recall actually. I don't know, I think it was through some social media that I found out about the work that Kaining was doing at Courage chapter. And I kind of got very intrigued by this whole concept of returnships, right? So we have had a history of hiring interns, folks who are, finished their A levels and waiting for university. But I have met many in my life of folks who are making, transitions from corporate world, and a lot of people at a certain age talk about wanting to, do something meaningful with their lives. So I thought what Kaining was doing through this returnship and with Courage Chapter was really interesting and very much needed. So we came on board. We took in our first batch of returns last year. Edmund was one of them, and we met so many people with so much accumulated experience from the corporate world that I think and I could imagine would really help in the social sector if and there is a big if these people come in to serve and to not to kind of assume that they know better than folks in the sector, but come in to serve. And from that returnship, both Edmund and another colleague are now our full-time employees. I don't want to presuppose that Edmund has had a positive experience. So I hand the time over to him and he can be quite candid about how positive or negative his experience has been.
Mm.
Hey, Bernard. Hi, everyone. My name is Edmund. So I've been in the corporate world for 26 years, 27 years. I was in Japanese and MNC, and then subsequently I was also in the public sector as well. So there comes a point in my life whereby I'm asking myself the question is, do I still want to continue chasing numbers and completing projects, or do I want to find something meaningful to do? That's where I chanced upon the coverage chapter. I knew Kaining and Jaslyn since I think they started out from the very, very beginning. Then they came up to me and said, hey, we're going to come up with first cohort of the social services returnships. Hey, what a very interesting, because I think social services to me was more of something that I'm not familiar with, right? But when I went through the session with them at Singapore Poly, I kind of understood. The key point that I made for myself was that it is not about the numbers in the social services sector; it's the impact that you can make to the beneficiaries there. So I took on this journey, and in a way, I was telling Kaining just now, I felt like this returnship program, right? It's like for us, imagine you are going first time go for a date, never date before, any gender, all right? You are a professional in your own gender, but you don't know the other gender. So this returnship program in the beginning is telling me, hey, okay, you're gonna first time meet your boyfriend or girlfriend, this is how a boy will do, this is how a girl react, then you learn from there. Then after that, they bring you to the place where you're going to date. And then you go there, oh, you look around, oh, not bad, eh? Then the returnship starts. That's where you start dating. That's why I was dating Bernard at the time, right? So Bernard look at me, I look at Bernard, we try out each other. Hey, I kind of like him, man. They say, yeah, I also kind of like you, leh. Then that's where Bernard said, hey, come, join me on board. So now I'm on a contract term with St. Andrew's Autism Center. I consider this like my engagement process already, lah. I reached engagement. So now I'm asking Bernard, I want to ask Bernard, want to get married now?
Lucky my wife stepped out of the room already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that, Edmund, and it's great to hear, right, that your journey has its ups and downs, right? But you finally found, I mean, what do I call him now? Is he your boyfriend or your fiance?
Huh?
But yes,
Not mine
Fiance.
lah, SACs lah, not mine lah, SACs.
right. So yeah, so Edmund, thanks for that. And I thought given your sharing, Edmund, to throw that question now to Bernard. Right, Bernard, you've shared that you've got Edmund, you've got Poa, you've got two good returnees that are now sitting in your stable at SAAC. What would you say is actually the social service agency's edge over corporates? You've got a large group of them sitting in the room with us now, right? That the corporates may not replicate, and it's going to provide that new experience to our returnees. And how would that then inform the way you and your team currently attract and manage all this senior talent?
Yeah, I think our big advantage in the sector is purpose and meaning. Definitely we can't compete with the corporate world when it comes to pay lah, right? So
Mm,
it's quite pointless us trying to just look at compensation and benefits as the attraction point. And so really, if I'm speaking with somebody who's thinking of making this transition, the first question I would always ask is, why do you want to make this transition now? Almost always I get somewhat the same answer, but I try to unpack the answer a little bit. Let me just explain this part. So often they will tell me, I want to do something meaningful in my life. Then I'll tell them, well, all of us want to do something meaningful with our lives. Can you elaborate a little bit about what do you mean by do something meaningful with your life? And what I'm actually trying to hear, as I'm looking for the right person, right, is I'm trying to go a little deeper into what is this, what is the push and pull factors that they're getting in this, through this transition. What I've realized over the years, because I've worked in my 5 years as CEO at SAC with a number of people crossing over from corporate, I have seen that. I look at whether their eyes light up now when I start talking about the mission of the work that we do. When I describe that the sector is not a bed of roses, but when they do come in and they are starting to give to our mission, that sense of joy that they're going to find in the purpose of the work. The and the so-called attraction process, or the recruitment process, uh, is quite a tricky one. I use Edmund's analogy because I thought it's such a good analogy. If you go on a first date, you're trying to impress, lah, right? So I have to assume the other party is trying to impress. And then, just extending the analogy, maybe the other party just had a breakup. So am I going into a rebound relationship,
Mm,
where it's very much the push factors from the corporate world that's pushing them out rather than the pull
right.
factors. They need not necessarily really resonate with our mission and our sense of purpose of the work that we do. They're simply just seeing that they're just tired and jaded from chasing numbers, as Edmund puts it, in the corporate world. So for us, I mean, the clear attraction, I think, is meaning and purpose. But I'm trying to get a sense of whether this person who I'm going on a first date with is just paying lip service lah to my attractive point of meaning and purpose, or are they really seeing the pull factors into the sector rather than the push factors out of the corporate world?
Right. Thanks, Bernard, for sharing that. So question then goes back to Edmund, right? You must have had your own assumptions and your own initial motivations transiting into the social service sector, right? Right now, today, having had this experience, with Bernard and the team in SAAC, how would you then reframe and redefine what those pull factors are currently for you? Okay,
Yeah.
and how would you have overcome some of these push factors that you were experiencing while you were adapting to SAAC?
I think for me, it was not really a bed of roses. All right. Maybe Bernard does not know this, but he was not my first choice, lah. All right. So before that, I joined another. I was returning at another area and another SSA. Went there for about 1 month, try out, date with them, but no chemistry, no fireworks. So I stopped there. Then I asked Kani, can I reapply again? So I reapplied, and then
Mm,
Bernard finally I said, okay lah, give him one chance lah, come in lah, select you lah. Okay, right? So coming in here, I would say that we as professionals, I think one of the key
mm,
elements that we have is experience. What do I mean by experience? Experience is not just about the
mm,
experience you have in your scope of work, but the ability to see on a very holistic way. For me, the experience that I was able to apply to SAAC was that I used to run departments, I used to run a big group of people. I was using functional management. I was also doing matrix way of organization. So that's where I find that that's the transferable skills that I have that I'm able to put into SAAC. Coming to SAAC, one thing is that you can feel the motivation to do well for everything for the beneficiaries in SAAC. Everything that we talk about will be, did you consider about the beneficiary? Do you consider about the beneficiary? Everything lies with. There is a very targeted mission vision in SAAC. And that's where I felt that, wow, shock, everybody working together. It's just that, where can I contribute? Where can I help out? So when I joined the returnship here, some have so happened they were planning for the walk of a lifetime, which I said some koyo here. We're going to have a walk of a lifetime. I see that Bernard wearing. This is a walk that we are doing on the 29th of August this year. If you want to, you can go to our SAC website and find out. So I was there. They were in a very heat of the moment to try to get the event going. So I was working with this group of young ladies, and then I came in as a researcher. They were, this uncle, what to do with him? So they start to throw me a lot of work. I accepted it because I know that they want to make the event better. Everything, do. It's fine. Then, okay lah. I felt that moment, I found where I could contribute in. It's more of the experience that I have, maybe in doing certain things. And I was able to coach and mentor some of the junior staff as well. So that was the very good feeling that I had. I hope that answers your question, Wendy.
Oh, that definitely does.
For the record,
Yes,
all my
Bernard.
colleagues loved him from day one.
Oh,
That's
really?
for the
I didn't
record,
know
yeah.
that. Oh, that's new to me.
So you thought you only had your eyes set on Bernard. In the end, you gained one whole community, one whole family. Isn't that cool?
Okay, everybody here, lesson learned. Okay.
Very charming, Edmund. Right. No, but I really, really love, how you share the one of the biggest pull factors is you got the opportunity to bring, your leadership skills, leading teams, leading large teams, and apply that in SAAC. Right. And that is fully transferable. And I think more importantly, the whole idea that, you were all working together as a team, as a group towards impacting your beneficiaries, that was a clear end game for you guys, and that was very attractive to you as well. And I think more importantly, and I guess that's where Bernard is going to start loving you a lot more, is your ability to change. They throw me a lot of work into an opportunity to learn more about yourself. Where do I fit, right? And can I also then find that opportunity to grow others that is around me, the junior people around you? Yeah, so I think that in itself to me is a mindset that is transferable for all of us in this room, in fact, right? Can I go in there, be open to learning, be open to some of this hardship, get past those hurdles, and then ask myself, where is my biggest impact? Where do I play? How do I help this organization to win? Right? So I would really like to call that out. And thanks, Edmund, for sharing that experience all in all. I want to, kind of spotlight the fact that, Edmund, you came from corporate and you did run, teams earlier on. Okay. And there is a leadership style, I think, that we all know kind of works much better in corporate that may not be a good fit where social service sector is, or maybe some parts of it needs to be tweaked. So this question is actually more for Bernard. Social service leadership actually does require a very different kind of authority, right? And from your perspective, what kind of tips or how would you support and help a senior talent make that shift, from being that expert in the room, I go in there and I say a word, everyone follows, they lean in, they do what they need to do, right? Versus being a newbie and a collaborator when I first stepped into social service.
Well, I mean, in the context of the question, first is really about the role. What role do we play coming to the sector? I forgot to mention just now in my self intro that in a way, I'm also a crossover. I spent most of my life in civil service. I was a civil servant for most of my life, and then I came into this social sector 5 years ago. And just reflecting on my own journey, I think there were transitions that I had to make as well. I think whether in the civil service or the corporate world, the assumption is that the most capable reach the top. So we prove ourselves over the years, we get promoted within our organizations, and we reach a certain level of positional authority. All right. The very interesting thing that anyone who's thinking of crossing over the sector needs to understand is that the large majority of staff in any charity or any organization, maybe even a social enterprise, the most of the frontliners, the frontline staff, which can make up 80% of the organization, are actually folks who have joined this sector and made some degree of sacrifice in order to do that meaningful work. And they expect their leaders to do the same. So the real influence that we have if we are in a leadership position is really in our ability to roll up our sleeves, our ability to go down to the ground, really understand the other party, kind of like in a courtship where, it's much less about who I am, what I bring, what are my attractive points to this person I'm trying to date, but really much more discover about, this group of people I'm working with, what are their strengths, what makes them tick. And I find that anyone who's crossing over the sector, the first piece of advice I always give to them is roll up your sleeves. Roll up your sleeves, get into the thick of the action, as Edmund did. Um, 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 Disregard, in a way, forget what was the position you held when you were in corporate, and take it as a new adventure. Come in and learn about the world of the social sector. Learn about what is the actual work that's done on the ground every day. And then from there, you have that influence to speak into the lives of this new now working with. And I think Emin's example of what he went through in SAC is a perfect example of the kind of posture that folks that are coming into the sector uh, uh, should bring. Let me be a bit more explicit here, just to drive home the point. I have found in my experience with those who don't make a successful crossover that somewhere at the back of the heads of these people, they come in with a attitude of I already have to take a 50% pay cut to come into this sector. And because I'm taking a 50% pay cut, surely I'm smarter than all of these people. And if I'm smarter than all of these people, they must listen to me lah. That's one sort of pattern of behavior I've seen for those that don't fit in. Another pattern of behavior is I come in, I've got all this experience, I come in as a consultant lah. I ask questions. I don't do the work. I don't really get into the nuts and bolts of it. I just ask lots of questions. And then the rest of us are there like, wow, this one behaving like a board member. How come only ask questions, never give us solutions? How come never, really contribute to the work? And our experience with Edmund was the complete opposite. He came in, he rolled up his sleeves, and as you heard from his own sharing, he just got into the nuts and bolts of it. Forgot about his past authority and position in the corporate world, and basically just contributed like any other team member. And that's why he very quickly won the respect of the colleagues in SAAC. Uh, so that really is the sort of authority, if you want to use the word authority, that the sector works on in that sense.
Right. So, Edmund, hearing all these good things that Bernard is saying about you, right, and the accolades that he is sharing, and I think that's very well deserved. My question for you is, with this new posture, this new evolved Edmund that you're working on, right? How are you redefining what success is for you coming out of corporate into social service?
That is an interesting question because I think what success would be meaningful for me is that if I can find any way possible to look at maybe new stuff or new things to do that will benefit the beneficiaries. Maybe there might be some areas in my experience because I was in the Japanese MNC, so I would know something about technology or know something about business acumen. I would know about commercial terms and stuff like that. How can I find ways to maybe incorporate all this and come up with meaningful or beneficial programs or grants or something like that that will benefit this? Because end of the day, it's all about the beneficiaries. That's the bottom statement. I hope that's
Right.
okay.
Yes. And that, I mean, to me, that sounds like a can do, will do kind of attitude. And that is something that, the social service sector is definitely looking forward to,
And
right?
if I may
For
add
someone
on,
to bring that new perspective and align it.
well, maybe one of the things that I went through in my corporate career was that not just about functional, I was not just running functional teams.
Yes.
Functional teams was when I was running a department, but I was also doing new developments. So that was a matrix organization. In that matrix organization, I do not have people to do everything for me. We have to roll up our sleeves. We have to do it ourselves. So I will lead a project, but I am also the nuts and bolts of the project. So if let's say you have also a similar kind of experience in your corporate life, maybe this is also a way that you can look as functioning well in the social services sector. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
If I
Right.
can
So
just
I'm coming back. Yes, Bernard?
yeah, if I can just add quickly to what
Of
Edmund is
course.
saying, uh, and maybe just kind of add on to my answer just now as well. There are a few things that we do at SAC that can help to smoothen that transition, and hopefully, more of them make a successful transition. And I think what can we do? The first thing I do is I get them to count the cost at the point of recruitment. Meaning say I don't paint it as a bed of roses. This is the sector, these are the
Mm,
challenges. That's one. The second one is really about once they are in and they have come in, we always encourage them to get to the ground. Get to the ground, and what we do in SAC, we do internal volunteer leave. I actually give all of my staff in the corporate services 2 days
mm,
leave that they can use to
nice.
go and serve any part of my frontline work,
Mm-hmm.
and really when they get to the ground and really, get their hands dirty, they realize, oh, this is the actual meaning of this work. And then they see the gaps and they then make that connection with what can I bring to help the people that the organization serves. And then third thing we do
Right.
is, and this one Edmund hasn't gone through yet, is to train them in the basics of the work that we do, just the basics. So we will give them a small amount of that training that our frontline staff goes through. And so I think those are
Mm.
things that we can do to help smoothen the transition. Yeah. So it's just adding to that because I fear that, as we talk, the bar gets higher and higher, and then people get discouraged about making this transition. Yeah.
Right, right, right. Yes. No, so thanks for sharing that. We are also ensuring that, while we are transiting all this talent into the social service space, we are making provisions so that they understand the work, right? And they're not coming in and having to already start doing all the new things and make that impact. Right. So I am mindful of time and I want to make sure we do keep time for the audience to also ask you their question. I just wanted to, take the chance to ask both of you these questions for both of you. So if you could just say that one thing, all right, to someone sitting seriously considering, right, this move, getting on the Courage Chapter's returnship journey, right, what would be that one word or one sentence you put across to them?
Challenge yourself.
Lovely. Challenge yourself, like how Edmund has.
What I'm gonna say is slightly morbid.
Oh,
Of what your work colleagues will say about you when they attend your funeral. Uh,
that
yeah.
deserves a pause. Thank you,
Think
Bernard.
about what your work colleagues will say about you when they attend your funeral.
Right.
So it's about a
And that very
legacy.
much links back, right, to purpose and meaning and how you've transited into that season of life. Okay, so with that, thank you. Thanks, Bernard. Thanks, Edmund. I just wanted to open the floor to questions, right? If you have a direct question you wanted to ask, or you can do that through unmuting or getting it into the chat. I thought I saw some good questions coming through the chat. Let me take a look over there. Right, for those of you who are feeling comfortable, please do feel free to unmute as well. Right. It's okay. Let me see. So I think Edwin has a question, and that is maybe towards what Bernard had shared, but I do, invite both you gentlemen to pitch in. So as Bernard mentioned, in corporates, people chase numbers, right? The people sector similarly also has KPIs. So what are they exactly, and what would returnees be chasing after if they get into the social service sector?
This question is not easy to answer, so it requires a little bit of elaboration. What we are looking for in the social sector, or what we should be working towards is impact. So the issue with KPI is the word performance, in my view. Key performance indicators means you have to perform. Now, there are, in my view, two definitions of performance. One is you are high performing, right? The other definition actually is perform lah. I perform, like performance, go to a performance. So I much rather the term key impact indicators lah. So what are some of the key impact indicators in this charity? Again, goes back to what Edmund says, what is good for the beneficiaries? The people we are trying to serve, how would I measure how much impact am I making in their lives? The sector is actually going through a period of time, I think, just starting out, but I think it'll take probably 5 to 10 years to make a full transition um, where we're transiting from certain indicators which indicate the performance part to impact. Let me give you an example in our context in SAAC. So we work in the disability sector, and for a long, long time, the KPIs have been about skills development. So for a person with autism that we work with, we are expected to help them become more skillful, learn this skill, that skill, help them be more independent in life. And all of those things are good, don't get me wrong, but in a way, to me, not the most important. So what I've been advocating for is a transition to key impact indicators, of which I think quality of life of the person I serve is probably the best indicator, right? And if I can quantifiably measure whether the programs I run are making a tangible difference in the quality of life of the people we serve, then I can give myself a pat on back and say, I have indeed very tangibly made a positive impact on these people that we serve. So I think as a sector, the so-called KPIs that you chase will be quite different. Now, having said that, I just want to add one caveat. I often tell people that my job as a CEO of a charity is not to make profit. But that doesn't mean dollars and cents are not important. We live in a sector, or we work in a sector with very lean resourcing, right? And Edmund's nodding his head. We work in a sector with very lean resourcing, which means that with a limited amount of resources, I've got to figure a way to create that maximum impact. Therefore, I tell people my job is to maximize the social impact on my beneficiaries without going to a loss. And the without going to a loss is still a key factor and a necessity for this sector, because if my organization is not sustainable, financially sustainable, I can't continue to do that work. Right. So that part of it is important. And I don't know if it's an answer to a question that I saw in the chat. The volunteer engagement work, that is important because that's what draws resources to the work that we do and helps us to do our work even better. So yeah, sorry, long answer to a short question.
But still love it, right? What about Edmund? Any thoughts with that question?
Mm,
Where are you seeing your impact actually currently?
Good question. I think its impact is to me something very hard to tangibilize. What does it mean? Because for us, you hit the budget, don't hit the budget, you hit this target or don't hit the target is very clear. It's a yes and no. But what about impact? Now, maybe in my way of thinking, impact would be, as Bernard said, how can I improve the quality of life for that person? But then each person, each individual we have in SAAC is different. How do I do it in such a way that maybe I can impact a bigger group of beneficiaries? So there are two ways to look at. But if I can look into a program or look into a situation whereby if I implement this, I may be able to help 50% of the beneficiaries. But then another part of it will be when our school teachers and our coaches, they will be more on an individual base. So the impact kind of application is different. The work that I do, the impact I will hope is more for a bigger range. Then I leave it to the professionals to do the impact on the individual part of it. I hope that gives some context to you guys when considering to come into the social services sector.
So great perspective there. And I thought with this question, maybe I'll weigh in a little bit as well, right? Myself, holding a fractional role with also a social service agency currently. I think, to Bernard's point, there is actually a lot of talk currently to really move away from traditional matrix or traditional measures of success, right? And if you think charities, I think it's easy for us to understand that in the good old days, we talk about the number of programs you run in a year, right? We talk about the number of clients or number of people, number of lives I've touched, right? And the shift currently is really to look at, in addition to providing for these people, right? Are we also able to uplift their potential? So then you imagine impact statements and matrix statements are very much more around for example, am I creating a community that is self-sustaining so that partnerships are beginning to form? And in time to come, we are talking about clients who are able to find the solutions and empower each other rather than every time an issue comes up they are looking back at the charity or looking back at the social service agency and asking for a solution. Yeah, so I think that's where the industry or the sector per se is it's trying to move and shift into. If I have to just put that in a simple phrase, I think it's really going back to that thought around, can I teach them to fish rather than keep providing the food and the fishes to them. Cool. All right. So I did pick up on two good questions coming from Rio, actually. Right. And I'll start off with the one that seems a little bit more serious and get to the one that's more for admin. So, Bernard, serious question for you. Specifically with regards to hiring returnees, senior talent, right? What is one thing that you would love to stop doing, right? Or one thing that you want to, kind of tweak and change the way that as AAC it's, taking in this talent?
It's a difficult question. Actually, the returnship scheme works very well. That I think kind of answers the question. Again, riding on the analogy Edmund used at the beginning, we're no longer in an age of arranged marriage, right? You don't get two people together, throw them together, because the parents said so, go get married, right? I think there should be a period of trying things out. In my experience, those that don't work out, I hire them based on conversations, interviews, and whatever goes into our recruitment process. And then they come in and I realize, not match made in heaven, and then there is that divorce 6 months later, 12 months later. Actually, the returnship scheme works very, very well. I mean, with Edmund and another of our colleagues, Poa, who join us through this returnship scheme, you come in, you have a period of courtship, right? You have a period of go and get to know each other, and either side can say yes or no eventually to that marriage, lah. So I would say that to anyone who's wanting to come in the sector, give it a try first. If not through a returnship scheme, then perhaps through volunteering at an SSA. You don't know what you don't know. And in today's day and age, and for anyone who's really seriously making that leap,
Right.
Don't have a rosy picture of the charity sector, lah. Like I said just now, we work on lean resourcing. If we're making you take a pay cut, it means that the sector has got lean resources. If the sector has a lean resources, expect to work harder, not less. So some of those things you have to experience it for yourself, and I think the returnship scheme is wonderful for that.
Right. So I'll definitely say a big thank you, Bernard. Kai-Ning is already premising, in the chat that she did not pay you for the koyo that you're selling for us,
No,
right?
as long
But
as
it's
you
definitely a
continue to
huge,
send us the best people, yeah.
of course, that partnership is there, right? And it's a huge boost, I think, for the team at the Courage chapter and even myself, right? As we start, planning for additional runs of the returnship program itself. Right. So, well, the fun question for Edmund then is, obviously there are competitive people amongst us in the audience today because they're asking you if you can date SAAC all over again, what would you have done differently?
Well, I joined the returnship program, joined SAC. I just be myself, frankly speaking. It's me. Be humble. Like you no longer having that title that you have in your corporate world, right? You are now serving somebody who needs your help. So just be that. That's what I did. So I won't change anything that I have done. But with regards to what I will eliminate, sorry, hold on. In regards to what I would eliminate, I think something that I went through the returnship program, I was given a JD, a job description, and I was so into the JD, looking that I must try to do what. But realistically speaking, it's not possible to complete the JD. End of the day, take the JD apart. Just do what you can. All right. And if you contribute, you can feel it, man. You can feel it in your heart. You can contribute, you'll be happy. When you're happy, you will do more. And you will do more without thinking. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like it's a match made in heaven. I think, and that's what Bernard is gunning for. So it's obviously a two-way cha-cha between the two of you, and we're happy for you guys. And I do see yet another, I would say, a very mindful and serious question that I'd love to put out there for both of you. So it's coming from Kok Liang. He is asking, how much does human empathy and building personal connections with the beneficiaries, because we've talked about how they are our end game, right? That's where we want the impact to be. So how much does empathy and personal connections play for the role to be successful in this area?
I'll give a yes and no answer. It does. In SAC, when we do our recruitment, we look for 3 Cs, character, calling, and competence. And the calling part is important. Because if meaning and purpose is the reason why you're crossing into the sector, you have to be connected to what the SSA or the charity is doing. What is their mission? Who are they serving? And if you have a personal connection, it makes it so much easier. Now, having said that, the no part of my answer would be that I've seen both those who have a personal connection to the mission but fail to make that successful transition. But I've also seen those who came in without that sense of personal connection to the mission, who eventually did. So I actually have a couple of colleagues right now from who used to be in the corporate world who came in. And then as they just invested themselves in the work and trying to make a difference in the work we do, later they came back and they told me, hey, I think my grown adult child is on the autism spectrum. And for them, it's almost like to me, that's the greatest reward they can get from coming into the sector, right? That they've come in, they've invested themselves, and then as they learn about the work we do, they then connect it back to their personal lives, and that's been the experience of a couple of the colleagues that have been in SAC. So I would say it's the sense of calling to the work important, but not a deal breaker.
Edmund, any thoughts?
Yeah, in a way, Bernard asked me a question. It's like during the returnship, was like, do you find the calling? Because I come from a place where I have no idea what autism was. I only knew autism in Bernard's words, the good doctor and the Rain Man kind of autism. I was shocked to learn that there is moderate and profound autism. So with that being the case, I'm not saying that I came in because my calling is only autism. I came into the social services sector because I found that every SSA has a specific calling, and that calling is to help individuals. So if you have that mindset of like, doesn't matter which SSA you go to, as long as it is helping individuals or people who are on, I don't know, you don't see, you don't know about. It could be for elderly, it could be for nursing homes, it could be for volunteers, it could be for persons with autism. The calling is more of, I really want to help somebody.
Lovely. And I will weigh in on this question actually more from a HR lens, right? So what I've noticed is, when we join or we look at social service agency, we typically will zoom in and ask ourselves, who are the beneficiaries? Is it a group of people that I feel for? Is there a calling for me in that space? Right? And then we also do go in with certain assumptions that if it's this group of beneficiaries, oh, this ABC is what they need. right? But what I've discovered actually coming back into the social service sector, and that is really through, getting down to the grounds, understanding my clients' need, mingling amongst them, being a part of their programs. And that's why I super love Bernard's idea around, can we have internal volunteer days for our staff as well? Because when I did that mingling, it really, broadened my perspectives around what exactly is the demands and the needs of this group of women that I'm working with. So in my case, it's women in general, right? I mean, it's no longer about, ensuring that they can speak good English. It's no longer about, ensuring that they're dealing with their caregiving roles in an effective manner. There is a good handful, right? Our clients have evolved with us. They've evolved with the market. A good handful that is asking for entrepreneurial skills, right? A good handful that's also asking, can I, be upgrading my abilities and taking on bigger roles in my organization, right? And these are new opportunities. And from a HR lens, that's what I tell myself is, okay, if my clients are needing this, am I building the necessary skill set amongst my employees? Right? Or if it's not within my employees, am I able to then look into my volunteer community and see if I could find those resources, I could find that help, right? So that to me, it's actually one of the biggest takeaways I had, just spending time getting close to my beneficiaries, being where they are, starting where they are. Right. So with that, I am just going to take a step and combine two questions, one coming from Christina and the other one that is coming from Akanath, right? Christina is coming from the HR space. Right, yeah. So Edmund and Bernard, if you could just take a look at the chat. One from HR space, one from R&D professional space. And their question is really, what are the kinds of mindsets I need to, start looking into if I want to transit from my deep area of expertise into social service? And what are the skills transferable that, we could project for them?
Maybe I can jump in first. I mean, this I see the question
Yes,
from
Edmund.
Jaya in regards to the R&D professional. So I'm also from R&D. I was doing a lot of research and development. In fact, I was doing electric vehicles even before electric vehicles were popular. So the transferable, when you are in a sector like agri sector that Jaya is in, I think the transferable skills here that you have would be on project management. Every project that you do will be on scope, budget, and schedule. This is applicable to any other project, right? So you can put away the agriculture technology knowledge that you have, but apply what you do to manage your projects to the projects that you are be given in the social services sector. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Edmund. Bernard?
Before I take a step at the HR side of things, Jaya, just want to say
Yeah.
we run a farm in SAC, so do talk to us. Come and see our farm. For the HR space, I would say that just riding on my earlier point, we have limited resources. So HR work is actually much harder in the social sector than it is because of the constraint of resources. Traditionally, I think many in the HR space in the corporate world probably start thinking when they think about the overall HR work, they probably would start thinking com and ben first, right? Compensation and benefits. Probably that's not. I'm not saying that's not important in the social sector. We do, at least at SAC, we do a yearly review of our comment ban, and we want to make sure that at least we're competitive with the rest of the sector. But the HR work then needs to look at different parts of the employee life cycle, and then figure out within this context of limited or constrained resources, how do we bring optimal human capital to the work that we do uh, in benefit of our beneficiaries? And to me, that is probably a process issue. How do I improve recruitment process so that I attract right people? How do I improve my onboarding and induction process so that they get to really understand our culture as soon as they can? Then the com and ben work is an obvious thing we have to do on a regular basis. That's BAU, business as usual, right? Then you look at staff engagement and staff well-being. How do we with limited resources, differentiate ourselves, and improve our own employee value proposition. Now, there is one very unique part that I would say belongs in the social sector that I hope HR professionals can bring into our space, which you probably don't get in the corporate world, and that's the whole idea behind compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue, as the term suggests, is basically they keep giving and giving and giving our beneficiaries until they themselves burn out. And the framing question I use for my HR team is, how do I help my staff to burn on without burning out? And
Mm.
to me, that's really the edge of HR work that we need to do in this sector at this point in time. Because this sector really, attrition comes largely not, for most, it doesn't come because of compensation and benefits and people feeling like not paid enough. In the first instance, they already made a sacrifice when they came in.
Mm.
Most of the time they leave because they are burnt out. They have given so much that they feel like they've got no more to give, right? And that for me is really the edge of the cutting edge of HR work that we hope that HR professionals can come in and work like in my view is really exciting work. And so we hope folks can bring this.
Right. So I'll absolutely chime in alignment with Bernard on that point, right? And I think that would be to Christine's question as well. In the corporate world, right, we see our end game customers as a very separate group and entity from our own employees who are our internal customers, right? But in the social service sector, I guess the question for us is if we are looking at our beneficiaries and we are literally saying that I want to ensure that my beneficiaries can, get a lot more support in the wellness space, right? I'm ensuring that I'm upskilling, my beneficiaries, I'm empowering them. So for all these good things that we say we're doing for our external customer, question is, with that same dollar, are we weighing in and doing the same for our employees so that in turn they can deliver on the impact you want for your end beneficiaries? I think that's the part that for a long time, it is not a SAEC challenge, neither is it a YWCA challenge, but it is a sector challenge, right? We've forgotten to ask ourselves, are we doing the same by our internal customers as much as we've been focusing on the external? Right? So the other thing I wanted to add over here is the other shift that I've had to make. Being in corporate, we know, we get the meet to top tier talent when it comes to HR, right? But when you walk into a social service sector, there is a clear need to actually uplift the HR mindsets, the HR skill set for your own team, right? So when you go in and if you're thinking as a HR person to transit into the social service sector, a large part of you have also got to, really want to uplift your fellow colleagues. And I'm not keeping that to just within my HR team, right? Because I do notice that a lot of our leaders within the team are social workers, transiting into maybe a corporate function, stretching, etc. Right? And they themselves will also need uplifting to understand what HR today is all about and how can we actually better partner them. All right. So with that question, I do need to thank both the gentlemen for your, no holes, no bars kind of sharing, and that was super, super useful for us. And the crazy questions that were coming from all of you, we super appreciate that because that also helps us to articulate, and I think it further affirms our decision, Bernard, Edmund, and myself, to either transit or stay on in this social sector. So over back to you, Kenning.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wendy, Bernard, and Edmund, for your time and for your sharing as well. Yeah, great. So I think I will move on by sharing my screen. Thank you to the three of you. Feel free to stay on, or if you have something on, you can also drop off as well. So right now I'll be sharing a little bit more detail about that elusive social service returnship that they have been talking about constantly throughout this 1 hour or so. Right, so I think just back to my previous slide here, do feel free to kind of also share your questions continually lah. So if it's relevant to the panelists, they can answer. Then if it's relevant to our returnship program, then I would answer it on the chat as well. Yeah. Yeah, so as I mentioned, right, so we actually have beyond besides SAAC, who is one of our best partners, we actually do have other non-profits, social service agencies within our ecosystem as well. And some of them, they actually do direct hiring from us, but other organizations like to go through the so-called returnship projects, so the shorter term projects that then if both of you kind of find each other suitable, then you can kind of convert to longer term. Right. So I think what is the benefit of a social service returnship then this is what we share with charity side lah, but thought I would share with you guys as well because then you can see how two hands clap, right? So I think really the benefit of charities coming on board this program is really because they can get access to really experienced professionals like yourself, right? Individuals with very deep functional expertise in HR, finance, fundraising, marketing, etc. And I think the outside-in approach is sometimes very helpful as well, right? So is the creativity and the strategic thinking, something from the corporate world that maybe the social service sector hasn't fully seen before. But of course, as what Bernard mentioned, it's not fully about just saying, oh, back in my day, I'm doing this, etc. But it's more like listening with empathy first, and then coming in with certain creative solutions. So fresh perspectives is definitely one of the key things that corporate folks can bring to the sector as well. The whole idea of the social service returnship is a trial engagement, right? Beyond just the educational piece, right? We ensure that there is a lower risk and lower cost kind of approach for charities to try out talent before they commit, right? So the date before you marry analogy, right? It's a 3 month project collaboration that we do with different charities for both parties to assess their fit for one another. And of course, during that 3 months itself, right, our returnees don't only just learn from the sector, they already start to contribute. So the charities would already benefit from their rich experience and even get certain kind of outcomes delivered within that 3 months, right? And I think from a totality perspective, this is a shared sector pipeline, right? As we continually help our corporate professionals upskill for the sector, give them the little projects to build their portfolio, because collectively the social sector would grow as well because the number of great professionals that come into the sector will increase over time, right? So there is a more macro perspective as well. Yeah, so I think Career Chapter on our side, right, we are not just matching people to projects or to charities. We're actually creating a curated pathways for our experienced professionals to so-called understand the sector deeply before they even start working. So our commitment to charities is that, before our returnship project happens, right, every participant would have completed the social sector appreciation course that is run by the Career Chapter. They would attend an immersion day at some of our partner social service agencies. So Bernard always hosts us in St. Andrew's Autism Center. And you really get to talk to all the different staff, really get to see the beneficiaries and understand the reality, the operational reality, the challenges of the sector and the opportunities as well. And I think fundamentally is also beyond just knowing where your positionality and knowing the sector, is really about how do you align both at the same time? How do you make sure that there's coherence in your motivations and what the sector is looking for, as well as thinking about transferable skill sets. So we hope that all these things will be prepared before our returnee actually joins the returnship project with the charity. Right, so by then you would have understood sector dynamics, calibrated your expectations, and you would know whether you genuinely want to come into the sector or not. Yeah, so this is many little photos. It's really sharing with you the journey that we bring people through lah. So today is actually part of the Ask Me Anything, right? So this one was a photo from the previous batch of panelists, and after you find out whether this is an interesting thing for you, you can join us in our 3-day program. So this is a social service appreciation program. So Bernard was here also as one of our panelists, right? So this was a class of our previous cohort. And after the 3-day program, you would go for a 1-day experiential visit to various charities. So typically we bring you to 2 to 3 charities in that single day, right? And then we actually we are currently in discussion with National Council of Social Services. So they're very keen to co-organize networking events with us, with their charities and with our professionals, right? So this is one which we did ourselves. So you can see we had Karen also from Lions Befrienders. So they are one of our strongest partners as well. And from these kind of conversations, the synergy you can tell is immediate one. So the sector leaders, because they are so attuned, right, to the people, they are able to quickly tell who I think can fit into my culture and my team. And then they immediately ask for interviews, some of them. So from these networking sessions, actually, a lot of our professionals got hired or converted, into various projects and roles through this. So this is part of the process that we see is very important, right? And then this is not, of course, this not everyone who get into the program will get a project immediately, but we endeavor to kind of find various projects for everyone with a priority for 1 year. So if you join our program, we will endeavor to place you or match you with a returnship experience for a 3 months time period over 1 year. And if, of course, after the 3 months, if you all like each other, like you date already, you got engaged, you like each other, you can potentially get married and join organizations full time. So for example, Jo here, she's working full time with Lions Befrienders, for example. Yeah. So these are just a couple of pictures that we do, right? Besides the lessons, we actually bring people to the specific SSAs for walkabouts as well. Yeah. This is a bit of a wordy slide, but actually, the whole process of thinking about the 3-day program is like, how can we take what Bernard and Edmund have been seeing and kind of like really help people to bring it to be a more reflexive process, right? Like really integrating it into their personal life. So we must first start off with the reality, right? So what is the view of the Singapore sector philosophy and ecosystem? How does it really work in the social service sector? What does impact mean, etc.? Then the reframing comes, which is how do you then put yourself into the shoes of the social service sector? What are your life experiences and transferable strengths into a new sector? What's the difference between your corporate logic and social sector logic? Some of the unspoken nuance, like the difference in taste, pay hierarchy. What do you have to unlearn and relearn in this whole sphere? After you're clear about what you want and what you need to do to get there, then it's about really repositioning, right? How do you what kind of roles are you kind of looking for in the sector? Do you understand some of the trade-offs, and how do you communicate your value effectively so that the social service agencies also understand the value that you can bring to the sector as well, right? So it will be more of a personalized pathway rather than generic job search advice, right? Because we do know that there are a few key roles and projects that are more popular among our corporate folks. So if very honestly, like if you come to us with specific experience that we don't feel that the sector might be able to integrate, we will also tell you honestly right at the start, because we only want to kind of help people who may have a highest chance like of really successfully converting into the sector. Yeah. So these are a couple of real life case studies and returnship projects that we have done with various charities, right? So one of the very popular ones are fundraising because this is their profit center, right? So they like to engage our returnees on fundraising campaign type of things. So I think both Edmund and Powa, our other returnee, did work on some of these as well, like gala dinners, walk of a lifetime, etc. We also have HR strategy, for example, or finance. We have center management, digital transformation and systems development, right? Like volunteer management systems. We have customer and user experience, and as well as procurement, to name a few, right? Yeah. So I think the idea is really that the why this thing we think works potentially is really because we prepare both sides and not just one side, right? So for professionals, it's really a guided learning journey and a mentorship potentially. Wendy has been a very, very important member to this thing, because sometimes when our corporate folks, when they go into the sector and they end up struggling a little bit, like they can't find a fit. Actually, Wendy is a very nice mentor. She comes in and actually coaches them. So she actually guides them and helps them to see things differently and see how they can, tweak the way of working so that they can integrate better. This is, to me, is very, very important, because if you just match people and then leave them there, right? Then there's a chance that something might not go well and then they might like so-called break up. So actually, how can we do marriage counseling in between to use all the analogies? Yeah. And I think for professionals, really is the exposure to actual social service setting before they really commit and join full time. And there is a peer learning community as well. So we try to gather our community to come together and discuss, hey, how has things been for you, a couple of months on? Can we learn from each other? So I think that accelerates the learning process and provides a supportive community. Yeah, and for the social service agency side, right, we work with them to scope out their projects and deliverables for that 3 months to ensure that it's actually doable for our returnees, right? We also have a dedicated so-called account manager lah. So we would come in to support them throughout their journey as well, and they are given an option to hire only after they feel that there is a strong fit, right? So we think that this is a strong win-win situation for both sides of the house. Yeah. Yeah, so I think some of the benefits of our social service returnship community is that you'll be invited to immersion days. So sometimes when we do social service visits, right, we will invite you to come along as well. There will be networking sessions, as I mentioned, together with National Council of Social Services, as well as potential project placements where you'll be given some priority for a year. Yeah. So I think in for our short-term projects, these are stipend-based because this is a learn and contribute kind of scheme. So we are with charities, the guideline is actually a 2.5K monthly stipend with the charities. Of course, the caveat is that this usual interview process would apply as well because they want to really see whether you can fit into the specific charity. Right. So these are a couple of social service testimonials that we've received from our past participants. I think they are very long, but essentially, I think what people say about our program is that they are very high energy, well curated, very diverse perspectives because we bring in sector leaders like today, right, to talk about the different elements of the social service sector and very good insights into the sector as well. Right. They also say that there's very grounded expectations, right? We don't tell you the good stuff lah. We also tell you, the realities of the ground, and it's important for you to consider that before you even come into join our program. In-depth exposure, a structured pathway, and hands-on experiences. And I think for those who landed projects with us, right? Edmund's testimonial is also here. I think a lot of them talk about how they feel is very meaningful, right? There's a meaningful contribution. There's a strong sense of personal purpose as well. And they do sense that our charities appreciate their corporate experience and respect the experience that they bring to the table. And I think the community support really, really helps them as well so that they feel like they're being supported in that journey. Right. Yeah. So we don't accept everyone who apply to join us. We actually do have some evaluation criteria because we know like actually what it takes kind of to succeed in the sector, right? So what we're looking for is of course transferable skills and your experience that is relevant to the sector. Of course, you don't need to have sector experience. The whole point of this program is for people without sector experience. But like Jaya, was asking, right? Your skill set should be transferable and meet the needs of the charities, lah. At the front of the application, we will tell you honestly if we think that your experience might be hard to fit into the sector. That being said, right, I have been wrong before lah. So that time I actually didn't think that one of our professionals was suitable for the charities, right? But then we had a call and she said that she really wanted to join. So we actually let her into the program and I was really wrong because she was in the end, one of the best performing person in one of the charities. So I realized that, you never know. I think what we have to do is to work with the charities to see where your experience can fit them as well. Yeah. I think then as what Bernard mentioned, the desire to serve and contribute is most fundamental, right? The best fit candidates are the ones that genuinely desire to contribute. You also need to have a strong learning agility, the willingness to relearn and unlearn from the past, right? First seek to understand and gain knowledge about the charities before you start to kind of like want to contribute or change things around, right? And of course, finally, it's really, I don't think it will be an easy journey. So really a strong persevering attitude and a willingness to roll up your sleeves, as really what Bernard mentioned. No task too small attitude. Grit through the adjustment period as well. Yeah, but with the support of the Courage chapter. Yeah, so this is, I think, my last slide. Yeah, so this is our program details, right? Our next run is cohort number 3. We run across 3 days of program and 1 day of immersion day. The dates are 11th, 12th, and 18th of July, right? So mid of July, that is a Saturday, Sunday, and then a next Saturday. Why do we do this is because last time, of course, some people tell us they're still working, they want to do it on the weekends. And why do we split it into with a gap of 1 week in between the day 2 and day 3? It's because after day 1 and day 2, you would have time to reflect about, hey, actually, what do I what do I feel I would be suited for the charities. And on 18th of July, we will then be thinking together about how do we communicate our value to the charities. That's why there is a deliberate gap in a way so that we can reflect a bit lah. So by 18th of July, we should all be very clear like, actually what is my positioning and then how can I position myself in the social sector? Yeah, so it's by design. However, our 1 day immersion in the charities, we are thinking of it to be 24th of July. It's a weekday lah, specifically because charities, they're all working professionals, right? So they are only open on weekdays. So this would be on if I'm not wrong, it's a Wednesday. Yeah. Oh, sorry, it's a Friday. Yeah, so it's definitely a weekday. Yeah. And this program will be taught and facilitated by sector leaders and practitioners, right? Like Wendy. And the cost of the program is co-funded by E2I, but the payable cost from your side will be $800 for the 4 days and the 1 year of kind of access to roles and projects. And including invitation to networking events that we co-organize with NCSS. So if you are interested, you can scan the QR code over here or go to this URL and you can read more program details about us and then you can apply. So applications is on a rolling basis. We only take up to 25 people per cohort because we want to keep the class size cozy. After you apply, we will acknowledge the receipt of your application, but we will also review your profile first and then kind of like evaluate whether we think that it is quite possible for you to transition. And then we will get back to you to tell you your application success. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll take a short pause here to see if you all have any questions for me. Yeah, okay. Yes, Rio said, thank you, Rio, for sending on the chat. So this is the link that you can click to look at the full rundown of the social service returnship lah. All the details are also there. Okay, if you can also unmute to ask your questions as well. Yeah. So this is cohort number 3. I received some personal messages. So this is cohort number 3. We are intending to run 2 cohorts per year. So if you are not able to make this specific timing, you can come and join us. I think our next run will be sometime in November. Yeah, so we're intending to do that. Okie dokie. So if you have no other questions, you can feel free to drop us an email. richchampion.com. You can drop us an email anytime. We're very happy to answer your questions and we will reach out to you via email as well with some of the details lah. Yeah, great. Okay. If there's nothing else, I think we are good for today. We'd like to return you back your time on a public holiday. Thank you so much, our 3 panelists, for joining us today, and thank you everyone for also making the time. Yeah, so Jess and I will stay for some questions, but the rest can feel free to drop off the call as well. Yeah, thank you so much. Hope you
Thanks,
have a very
Kenny.
good
Thanks, Jess. Thanks,
weekend.
everyone, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, so Jess and I will stay back a short while to see if you all have any other questions as well. Yeah, if not, we'll have a good rest of day.
Oh, I see questions in the chat leh.
Yeah, I saw it also.
Um,
Which one? There's one on the. Where's my mouse?
let me just scrolling down the. Is
Yeah.
that
can we use SkillsFuture? I think that's one of them. So this one is currently not covered by SkillsFuture, even though E2I is co-funding it lah. So E2I is co-funding $500 from this, but the 800 is not utilizable by SkillsFuture. Yeah. Y'all have any other questions? Feel free to just ask us as well. Yeah, all good. Gary, Kok Yang, Catherine, Felicia, FH, I think a couple of y'all still on the chat. Okay, if not, then I think we can drop off. I think maybe they are like step away for a while. Yeah, okay, thank you everyone.
Thank
Have
you,
a good day.
everyone.
Bye.